give more returns. Get more security and more interest on your fixed deposits from Sri Lanka's largest finance company, LOLC Finance.
Be part of the solution to make your world a better place. Don't litter. Care for your community by disposing waste properly. Refresh Sri Lanka for a civic-minded society. In association with AICPA and CIMA, CA, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, and 99X. LMD, the voice of business.
Welcome to the forum. To mark the International Women's Day, joining with us tonight is the country manager for AICPA and CIMA, Sri Lanka and Maldives, Zahara Ansary. Hello, Zahara. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Fazmina. Thank you for the invitation, and I'm delighted to be here.
We're celebrating International Women's Day 2023. And since last year's celebration, we've seen women making history in politics to sport and entertainment, locally and globally. In your view, what is the significance of this day in today's context?
For me, it's much more than a day of celebration, but rather a day, a month, and a time of awareness to remember how far we've come and remind us to continue to work in the pursuit of equality of women. I'm glad about the attention given on this day. Year on year, more and more organizations are coming on board to celebrate, and the media also does a terrific job of propagating the messages. So more become aware of the unconscious biases that they have, and then they begin to provide equal opportunities to women and, of course, celebrate women. But deep down, something that I firmly believe in is that gender equity has to go beyond the 8th of March. It should be every day, at every place, not just the workplace, but even at home, in every sphere of life.
That's very true. The theme for this year's International Women's Day is Digit-All, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. What is your take on this theme?
So today, technology permeates every aspect of our lives. Whether it's, even if you start early in the morning, it's from your child's school WhatsApp group, or, using MS Teams, which is in relation to our work lives, be it via the mobile, the laptop, social media. Even almost all our transactions are now online, right? And we'd be speaking, interacting with bots, using technology in these various aspects. But did you know that half the women, or rather half the world's population, which are women, 37% of women don't have access to internet? And that's about 250 odd million less, fewer women than men. Having access to technology helps one to gain skills, make life more convenient, and of course be able to engage in the digital world and even be employable in the STEM field of careers. Because by 2050, 75% of the jobs will be related to the STEM fields. But as of now, there are only 22% women in jobs related to artificial intelligence, which is sad. So bringing women into technology results in more creative solutions. And that's why we see a lot of this women in tech and so on programs being done. But there's so much more potential for them to get involved, have innovations that actually meet women's needs and promote gender equality. Their lack of inclusion, in fact, comes with cost, as research has shown. And I guess that's why UN rightly decided to have this theme and recognize women and girls who are championing the advancement of transformative technology and digital education. I am glad and proud to work for an organization that enables women worldwide to obtain a professional qualification available through many pathways, especially through our digital-first platforms like the CGMA FLP program.
That's interesting. Now, where does Sri Lanka stand regarding gender equality and women empowerment in the context of your profession?
So I work in professional education, but I work very closely with the finance profession, and I see great strides being made in both sides. If you look at the professional bodies in Sri Lanka, we can see a lot of progress. If you look at the finance-related professional bodies, to this date, almost all are headed by women. The finance profession continues to work hard to create a level playing field as well. We can see more women being recognized for their qualifications, the skills, and their professional achievements. I feel we've made significant progress in the past with regards to gender equality and women empowerment. With regards to the finance profession, you'd never really see an advert saying that they would recruit only a male for a CFO role or a head of finance role. So a lot of work on this path has been done, not just by the professional bodies, but professionals themselves. And of course, the women, they've proved that they can do anything. On a CIMA side of things, there are certain activities that we've done. For example, in terms of mentoring, skills development, even in the last couple of years, we tied up with Satin Magazine and we launched the Women Friendly Workplace Awards so that we can bring out the best practices for females in the workplace. And recently, when we had the launch of the awards for this year, there was also a paper that was released that listed the kind of practices that would encourage more women to come and work in today's workplaces. And right now, we are working on a very special project that's very close to my heart, because I've realized in the last couple of years, our women, some of them have got stuck. They've had to give up on their roles and so on, but they can now come back. So we are working on a second careers project for women. And I want to continue to work on this because as a profession, we are not fully where we want to be. But by working together, we can ensure that it's truly open for everyone to work in this profession and to succeed as well.
Definitely. And what are the implications of driving gender equality through digital innovation in terms of management accountancy and related professions?
Okay, so interestingly, I know IMF is in the news right now, but one of their recent studies found that women bring new skills to the workplace, increasing economic benefits for all, including the male wages. So this study also implied that the standard models don't differentiate between genders in their analysis. And they understate the favorable impact of gender inclusion by focusing mostly on technology. But in fact, in the countries that are ranked on the bottom half of gender equality, closing that gender gap would actually increase in their GDP by 35%. And this comes off the IMF research. And to harness the full potential of digital innovation as a means to help our organization's economy and our society, we must embrace gender inclusiveness and equity. So by tapping into different people, cultures, perspectives, the accounting and finance profession is positioned to solve even the most complex and challenging issues. As an organization, our mission is to drive an accounting profession full of opportunities that's accessible to everyone. And we believe that the profession is reflective and inclusive of the global communities that they serve. So, for example, if you take our vision, it's to trust, opportunity, and prosperity. So we enable that to happen. And to succeed, we must not only focus on the technical skill sets, but we must also focus on creating and fostering an inclusive profession at every level. And it's not just yours or mine's responsibility, but it's all of us, our responsibility to make sure that happens.
Absolutely. Can you share with us some global best practices for empowering female professionals in the field of finance that Sri Lanka can take inspiration from?
There's quite a lot, but let me start off with the reality itself. So when you look at women's representation at the top of the business, in the S&P 500, while women's overall representation is kind of close to parity, men certainly are overrepresented at the most senior level, especially in the leadership roles. And one of the most interesting things that has been found as per global research was that in the companies where there are at least 30% women in management positions, they see significant improvement in the annual return on equity, and S&P 500 companies where more than 25% are there, they do far better than the rest. So let's look at women in accountancy profession as well before we come into Sri Lanka. So women make up around 37% in the accounting profession and 50% of the students worldwide. This is somewhat similar to Sri Lankan numbers as well. In terms of the accountancy students, we have about 50% of them being females. But since 2017, there's been only 1% increase in the profession. And they are largely underrepresented in the numbers of management and partners. So that means there is hiring happening, but not advancement. So let's look at the Sri Lankan context and some of the best global examples that we can take. If I may list down a few, one is building a strong network, whether it be in your career, in your work environment. We would implore finance professionals to look up to other female professionals who can support and coach you. So there are many accomplished women who are always willing to support women in their organizations and on professional platforms like LinkedIn and so on. Likewise, there are senior male professionals also who are committed to mentoring the younger colleagues. But more so than usual, we would see females because, well, most of them, they have this mothering instinct, right? So they would look out for you and they would help you succeed. Reach out to them and see. The worst that could happen is a no, right? In terms of Sri Lanka and AICPA and CIMA related activities in line with this aspect is when we launched our mentoring programs. And we even had last year for our IWD celebrations, we had a human library concept where there were about 10 to 15 leaders who came in, and we helped people to sit one-on-one with them and learn from them, clarify any doubts, and thereafter they could take the mentoring forward as well. Secondly, I believe in offering flexibility beyond work from home, beyond flexible work hours, beyond split days, and so on. Flexibility will help employees to be committed and engaged in the workplace. And the good news is that a lot of organizations are now seeing it after work from home and the COVID and all of that happened. So women, flexibility will mean much more than managing work hours. It's also about self-development, finding the time to be active for their own physical and mental well-being, and of course, being there for their loved ones. Some of the best examples I could say is as part of this whole Satin Mag CIMA Women Friendly Workplace Awards, I remember companies like Unilever offering really, really awesome perks for women coming back to work. And I think that's kind of like, one of the best global practices. We should look at what the MNCs are doing and implement those back here in Sri Lanka as well. So mentorship programs should also go one step beyond. For example, where you could have like structured programs within the organizations. If I remember right, it was SAP who had like an internal mentoring group for their ladies called Future Female Leaders. And I think a couple of Sri Lankan organizations also do that. For me personally, I've had a few mentors in my career, be it at WNS, be it at Airtel, and even in my CIMA volunteer journey. And it helped me succeed and inspired me to do the same for others as well. So I hope every organization would also look at these aspects. A couple of things that I would also want to share is there are less women in boards in Sri Lanka. The numbers are increasing now, but it's still comparatively lower. So maybe something that the HR teams, the management can look at is to set a figure and consciously work towards that. Maybe even having more women in the management roles as well, not just at the bottom, but more at the top as well. I still remember, Fazmina, this is something very personal to me. When I was due with my second baby, I was told a lot of women don't come back to work after their second baby. That's because they don't have the facilities, they don't have the it's difficult, right? I mean, one baby we can manage. Here comes the second, you've got double the workload as well. So unfortunately, this is very true of most of the female folk in Sri Lanka, even as of present. So something that the organizations can look to would be look at the global practices and probably follow those, bring the talent back into work. If the organizations can enable the women to work, support them with creches, do childcare facilities, or pay for that childcare facilities, you will retain that talent. And no one should be singled out just because, they're women. So the last point I would like to share is that we as women should also be open to asking for help and seeking others' perspectives as well. The truth is that we can't do it all alone. And it's necessary for us to sometimes ask for help, and we don't have it all. So there would be others who will be willing to support us as well in our journey. So empowering women means smart economics, and we need to proactively do this.
There's a long way to go, but there's hope. It's time to take a short break. When we return, we'll resume our conversation on International Women's Day.
Display your brand message on digital screens at prime locations. The largest digital advertising network in Sri Lanka. Emerging Media.
You're mobile, and so are we.
Gets me going. Grab the Lite 87 app at the Apple App Store or Google Play now.
87.8 and 87.6 island-wide. Lite 87.
Welcome back. We're talking to the country manager for AICPA and CIMA, Sri Lanka and Maldives, Zahara Ansary. So the hashtag for this year's International Women's Day is hashtag Embrace Equity. How does this apply to the Sri Lankan context?
So embracing equity cultivates the mindsets and practices necessary to create an affirming, inclusive, and equitable ecosystem. Equity is more than equality. Equity recognizes that each person has different circumstances and allocates those resources and opportunities needed to reach an equal outcome. Something of interest. Recently, I saw this advert by Unilever Sri Lanka, and that said something to the effect of, "Come as you are, we will skill you up to succeed." I wish all the organizations would say that. I mean, not only say that, but follow it through with actions as well. Sometimes what we need is not incremental change, but bold change. Things like what JKH did, right? Like with providing 100 days of paternity leave. They set a trend, bold and daring across the industry. So sometimes the organizations will have to look at that towards enabling and embracing equity. Some of the other practices that they could probably do is drive awareness around equity in the workplace. Evaluate the current practices with regards to equity. Prioritize wage equality, which I believe most have done so far. And of course, update hiring practices. Like you said, there is hope. And there is a lot of positive things that have been done, but there is so much more to be done in Sri Lanka and worldwide.
Sri Lanka is going through an unprecedented chapter of challenges with the prevailing economic crisis. How important is it for us to embrace equity across the board, especially in terms of gender at this point?
I think I referred to this earlier. If you don't, your organizations, your teams, and even individuals will miss out on great opportunities, and there will be a cost attached as well. women are multi-talented. I remember in one of Simon Sinek's programs, this was at one of the Coca-Cola conventions in India, he spoke about what makes a team great. And in that, he mentioned how diversity brings value to the table and positively impacts organizations. So D&I, DEI is not a box to tick. It's a journey that requires ongoing commitment. In fact, research shows that companies with more gender, racial, ethnic diversity tends to outperform those with less diverse representation. So in order to unlock growth and prosperity, we've got an imperative to seek out, enable, and develop the best and the brightest, regardless of any of this gender, ethnicity, beliefs, socioeconomic backgrounds, anything. Future can't be prosperous unless women continue to play a role, a strong and pivotal role in our profession, the business world, and the society as a whole.
On those lines, how can we ensure inclusivity in the female empowerment agenda of Sri Lanka in terms of women and girls in non-urban areas?
So recent research has shown that our women labor participation rate is around 31 to 32% in comparison to 72%. And youth unemployment rate for women is around 36% compared to around 20% for men. So women's labor force participation in the country, it's compounded by many factors like what we've discussed before, the lack of affordable and quality childcare, to lack of support in sharing household work, and some workplace cultures that aren't really supportive of women employees. Further, like when women are engaged in informal employment, crises like the COVID-19 will disproportionately and has disproportionately affected female-headed households. And they make up at least about a quarter of Sri Lankan homes. So to ensure inclusivity, some of the things that can be done is to train them and provide them with opportunities for careers. It's something that I firmly believe in and take conscious efforts on. In the last 3 to 4 years, I've seen many ladies on social media trying to get back into careers, and they're looking for options, especially work from home opportunities. There are many organizations that have enabled it, like She Consults, to Remetics, and so on. Some of the mainstream organizations have also now started providing such options and opportunities. And we've also seen, like, in the CIMA world, we've seen a lot of the ones who've given up on their studies now actually coming back to complete their studies so that they can get back into corporate careers or to migrate. So we are working on specific projects to support them. Secondly, opening up more work opportunities outside the main cities. It could be remote work, it could be physical work. There's so much of talent out there. For example, for finance and accounting, we know we have the best talent available right here in Sri Lanka, and we are the destination for BPM and IT industry. And I know a few organizations like John Keel's Informate who've invested in such talent outside of Colombo. So it's time for more and more organizations to actually take on board such opportunities and provide careers for these females outside of Colombo. And I see a lot of women organizations like WCIC, Women's Chamber of Industry and Commerce, to WIM, Women in Management. All of them are trying to provide assistance and training along with international organizations like IFC and ADB. We need to do a better job of promoting these success stories from the work that they do so that more and more women out there would know they have such opportunities to make use of, and then they too could succeed in life. So it's not just the service sector examples that I shared, but even in manufacturing, right? Things like enabling them to succeed and have access to markets, local as well as overseas. And of course, ultimately, the workplaces have to be safe. I mean, that goes without saying.
LMD's campaign titled Refresh Sri Lanka was launched to encourage a mindset change for a more civic-minded society. When looking at empowering women through technology and innovation, what would your focus areas be to ensure that civic-mindedness is not ignored?
Firstly, kudos to the team at LMD, because that campaign was like definitely refreshing, and you guys using your own internal staff to do the adverts and so on. It was like really, really nice, eye-catchy. And caught up in the rat race of life that we've had in the last couple of years, fighting for the bare necessities during COVID or the economic crisis, many had forgotten this fact. So my focus areas under that would be financial education, inclusion, and investment, because we need to enable access to proper information, access to sources of funding that will not lead these women towards hell on earth, because we've seen that in the past through some lending organizations. And we would also need to provide them access to the latest in tech innovations as well. Education and skill development with special emphasis on the STEM side of things and the 21st century skills will also help. Thirdly, I would believe that promotion of women into leadership positions in all sectors will also support and, of course, changed workplace cultures.
Thank you. Any closing thoughts you would like to share with our audience?
Think of the pursuit of equality and women's rights beyond this day. We can all make a difference, regardless of our gender. If we treat women right, help enable them, empower them, educate them, and provide them with the right opportunities, we will be the catalyst for real, lasting, and positive change for many women. Each time, when it comes to women and their rights, consciously think of your words, actions, and deeds. If you educate and empower a woman, you'll be changing a generation. Thank you, Fazmina. I enjoyed doing this chat with you.
Thank you very much, Zahara. Your insights on the challenges and opportunities facing women in all areas in life have been inspiring and thought-provoking. And to our viewers, until next time, take care.
Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching and stay safe.